Hey folks, it is April 9, Friday, spring is sprung, and this is the Daily Word. This is a sermon preview for Sunday. It's just a taste of what I hope hooks you so that you'll listen. Not all the content or all the answers in this Daily Word, but I'll start with this. We have had, over the years, a lot of harmful, hurtful teaching on faith. It's been more about performance and works than about love or grace. I want to speak to that, and I want to bring it more into the relationship that it's supposed to be. Faith doesn't begin with us and our capacity to feel some mysterious sense of certainty or confidence. It begins with understanding and trusting who God is and what He's like. The true biblical idea of faith is relational. It's grounded in relational love, trusting relationally that God is love and that He always acts on that love. God acts sovereignly, doing what's best for us as opposed to what we might think or want. Too much faith teaching has been about trying to make something happen, say the right words, confess the right things, get enough of that, whatever that mysterious quantity is, to move God to move. Well, listen, faith doesn't make God do anything. It simply trusts Him for what He says He will do and for who He is. If we think that faith makes things happen, we're actually making a statement of unbelief, because now the weight of it all comes down on us, and whether or not we have the right feelings or the right attitude, rather than on who God is. It becomes a work by which we manipulate God, and manipulation is not relationship. It can become a work by which we earn something from God. So Hebrews 11, starting at verse 6, says, and without faith, it is impossible to please Him, for he who comes to God must believe that He is, and that He is a rewarder of those who seek Him. But that's not about getting something from God or getting Him to do something we want Him to do. It's a relational statement about a loving Father. Listen, it blesses a father's heart, pleases him when his children trust Him. It grieves Father God when we don't trust Him. Trust pleases Him. The part about needing to believe that God is a rewarder of those who seek Him is nothing more than affirmation that when His kids seek Him out, He gathers them to Himself in a loving embrace, relationship. And so we come to a point in this relationship of trust where we get past believing for something as if we were trying to manipulate God to do what we want Him to do, and we call that faith on the one hand, and believing in God on the other. Faith for something is inherently manipulative versus faith in God, which is relational. Faith for some specific outcome will set you up for disappointment and blind you to what God is really up to. Faith in God, faith in who God is, and in His perfect will and care sets you up for constant surprise and delight, and it's better than what you could have imagined in your own self. Well, I believe that God is going, for instance, I believe that God is going to heal me. That's faith for. And if He doesn't, at least not right away, then your faith is shaken. But if you have faith in Him, then you know that no matter what happens, He loves, and His hand is on you for the good. For instance, maybe you have an illness, and you pray and you believe for your healing, and God doesn't seem to move. But what you didn't know was that there was going to be, this is just a maybe, a perhaps, maybe what you didn't know was that there was going to be no one but you to share the love of God with that nurse in the hospital whose husband just left her and whose child is sick with a life-threatening illness. She needs to know the Lord, and you're the one. Faith for some specific outcome sets you up for hurt because it depends on the outcome you wanted to see. Faith in is glorious because it depends only on the revelation of who God is in His love and his sovereignty, doing what he knows is right and best. So understand who he is and trust that. Matthew 6, beginning at verse 28. And why are you worried about clothing? Observe how the lilies of the field grow. They do not toil, nor do they spin. Yet I say to you that not even Solomon in all his glory clothed himself like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today, and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? There's the revelation of who he is. Faith trusts. I don't have to work up faith for provision. God doesn't say, you didn't trust me, so I'm withholding my blessing and you're on your own. Well, God's not like that. I can have faith in who he is, in his love. Faith is trust that we can be freely about the business of kingdom living because like a good father, he's already committed to taking care of us. Matthew 6:33. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Mark 6:1. Jesus went out from there and came into his hometown, and his disciples followed him. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue. And the many listeners were astonished, saying, where did this man get these things? And what is this wisdom given to him, and such miracles as these performed by his hands? Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James, and Joseph, and Judas, and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us? And they took offense at him. Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor. Focus on without honor, except in his hometown and among his own relatives and in his own household. And he could do no miracle there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and healed them, and he wondered at their unbelief. I want you to understand something very simple. It wasn't people's unbelief, their lack of faith in God, that tied Jesus' hands and bottled up the power that was in him to heal and do miracles. I don't see God, I've got a lifetime of this, and I don't see God ever restricting his power to the ability of people to believe emotionally. If that had been the case, the Israelites would never have gotten out of Egypt. Go read that sad story of blockheaded and stubborn unbelief. Moses got so frustrated with the people's unbelief he wanted to quit. But God acted anyway, because he's bound by love and not by anything in us as human beings. So what held Jesus back in his hometown was the lack of honor. Verse 3, they took offense at him. And verse 4, a prophet is not without honor except in his hometown and among his own relatives and in his own household. And that lack of honor was the substance of their unbelief. Failure to honor equals unbelief. God will act in the face of emotional unbelief. I've seen miracles happen through my hands again and again when I didn't believe. I've seen miracles done in my own life when I had no faith for it at all. His love is bigger than my emotional state. But what will restrain his power is a lack of honor or a spirit of dishonor. It's honor that we fail to give him, but even more, honor we fail to grant to one another. In an atmosphere of honor, power flows. When dishonor or disrespect dominate the atmosphere, God refuses to bless it because he will bless only that which looks like him and will not bless what does not look like him. Where people will not honor one another unconditionally, therefore God restrains his hand. It's the atmosphere of honor versus an atmosphere of dishonor. Well, folks, that's just a taste. It's just a few key points. I've got more to say of what I'll be sharing Sunday. You may have questions. I'll probably answer some of those that I couldn't pack into this video. I hope I've hooked you. And yes, it will be available on all of our usual online platforms. So that's it for today, and I pray that you have a really great spring weekend. God bless.